It's June 25th, 2018, and it's time to review 5 of the most outrageous, infuriating, or just plain baffling things that have happened lately. It's your Facepalm 5. Let's count them down. Number 1. Aggrieved Star Wars fans want to remake The Last Jedi. Okay, it's not the most important story from the last few weeks, but yeah, let's ease into it. As you probably know, the most recent entry in the Star Wars sequel trilogy, The Last Jedi, was one of the most acclaimed films of the entire franchise. It grossed over $1 billion worldwide during its theatrical release, scored a 91% on the tomato meter at Rotten Tomatoes, garnered a grade of A from CinemaScore, and when it was released on home video, it became the fastest-selling Blu-ray and DVD of the year. According to the box office, the critics, and the audience, it's one of the most successful films ever made. So of course there are a few dissatisfied, entitled Star Wars fans who are demanding that Disney let them fix it. Week before last, a website and Twitter account were established for the Remake The Last Jedi campaign. What do the creators of this campaign want? It's pretty light on specifics so far. They claim to have a $200 million budget already in place, and all they need now is for Disney to get on board, but they're also asking visitors to their website to pledge money and promising rewards to donors, like a crowdfunding campaign. They seem to be talking about making an entirely new movie with a new screenplay, but they've also said they want to keep Carrie Fisher in the movie, which would seem to require them to use at least some of the existing film. And while they insist they aren't part of the toxic subset of the fandom that aggressively shit on Last Jedi and its predecessor, The Force Awakens, for casting women and people of color in prominent roles, their objections to Last Jedi sound similar to some of the objections voiced by those toxic fans, like that the Canto Bight subplot was pointless. Did they even watch the movie? And the characters were unrelatable. Again, it nabbed an A on CinemaScore and it grossed over $1 billion. Most people seem to have related to the characters just fine. But that speaks to the fundamental flaw of this delusional effort. It's based on a false premise, that The Last Jedi was a failure. It wasn't. A whole lot of people paid to see it. The overwhelming majority of them really liked it. Not everybody liked it, and that's fine, but not liking a movie doesn't entitle you to demand a do-over. If that's how it worked, I'd have forced Warner Brothers to spend the 1990s making and remaking Batman movies until they got it right, for Christ's sake, which isn't all that different than what they actually did. And I mean, I didn't have $200 million, but I'm pretty sure the dipshits behind this campaign don't have it either, so that makes us even. Enjoy the attention your sad little nerd tantrum has been getting you, boys. And hey, throw that screenplay of yours up on fanfiction.net if you ever actually write it. I'm sure it'll be fantastic. And one last thing. Thank you, sincerely, for giving me a good laugh this week when I really needed it, and providing me with an excuse to spend the first couple of minutes of this video talking about this frivolous horseshit, instead of the fact that, number 2, we have child concentration camps now. Here's the thing, the camps themselves aren't unprecedented in American history and aren't new. Unaccompanied minors who cross the border are placed in detention centers, and that's been going on for years, long before Trump took office. What's different about the last few weeks is because of the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy, which directs that every undocumented immigrant apprehended be charged with a crime, children who arrived in the country with their parents have been sent to the camps as well. And what's disappointing and scary about this story is how many Americans now know about this and seem okay with or even enthusiastically in favor of it. Because did I mention child concentration camps? Pretty sure I did. Trump did sign an executive order last week which he claimed would halt the practice after spending weeks blaming the problem on Democrats and insisting there was nothing he could do, but whatever, he's a liar and everybody knows it and his supporters don't care, so fuck everything. But the executive order solves the problem by essentially directing that members of families be locked in cages together rather than separately. And it does nothing to address the situation of the thousands of children who have been separated from their parents already. And after signing the order and explaining that the heartbreaking images and sounds of families being torn apart by federal agents at the border had compelled him to act, It took Trump about a day to start complaining about the, quote, phony stories of sadness and grief he said were being told by Democrats. One more thing, the day after Trump's executive order, Member of Congress Adam Schiff reported that Trump's Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen has been privately telling lawmakers that the family separation policy will resume eventually. I think the mindset that allows something like this to happen was best summarized last week on Trump's most popular propaganda apparatus, Fox News Channel, when host Brian Kilmeade said of the children that have been separated from their parents, "These aren't our kids." That's really it, isn't it? How do you convince people to support the indefinite detainment of children? Well, you tell them, they aren't our kids. They're not the same as our kids. They aren't entitled to the same things as our kids. They and their parents don't belong here. They should go back to where they came from. How often in the past has humanity embraced such ugly ideas, and how many dark roads have we traveled down as a result? And if you think that the only people endangered by this are undocumented immigrants, think again. Number 3, legal residents and naturalized citizens are also being targeted. The bottom line, according to supporters of Trump's cruel treatment of undocumented immigrants, is these people are breaking the law. If they want to come to this country, they should do it the right way. Okay, so about that, week before last, ICE agents arrested 62-year-old Jose Luis Garcia while he was watering his lawn at his home in Los Angeles. Garcia is a legal permanent resident who came to the United States from Mexico 50 years ago. ICE agents arrested him after discovering he had been convicted of a misdemeanor domestic violence charge 18 years ago. Garcia was sentenced to probation and anger management classes for that offense and apparently has no other criminal record. Garcia is now in ICE custody awaiting a deportation hearing, which, thanks to an immigration court backlog, may not happen for months. Does it bother you that ICE agents are apparently scouring databases looking for excuses to remove immigrants from the country? Because, hey, it bothers the shit out of me. But maybe some of you are saying, well, he did commit a crime, and he was a legal resident, not a citizen. If he wanted to stay in this country permanently, he should have become a citizen. Then something like this wouldn't have happened. I think you can see where I'm going with this. The Washington Post and other major news outlets have reported in the last couple of weeks on a new Trump administration program that has investigators scanning the records of naturalized citizens searching for evidence that they lied or omitted crucial information in their naturalization paperwork. Until now, the denaturalization process has rarely been used. There have been only 305 cases since 1990. And many of those were World War II-era Nazis who came to the U.S. under false identities. Revoking citizenship is a drastic step to say the least, and the sort of fraud that would warrant such an action seems to be extremely rare, but I'm sure we can depend on the Trump administration to conduct these investigations responsibly and without prejudice. After all, it's not like Trump has consistently disparaged and vilified immigrants since the day he launched his election campaign and spent much of his presidency thus far enacting policies designed to bar as many people as possible from entering the country, legally and otherwise. Oh wait, that's exactly what it's like. Hey, guess what else? Number 4, the U.S. quits the United Nations Human Rights Council. Coincidentally, one day after the office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights condemned the Trump administration's policy of family separation at the U.S.-Mexico border, UN Ambassador Nikki Haley announced the U.S. was withdrawing from the UN Human Rights Council. Now, to be fair, and I can't imagine I'll be saying this too often, one of Haley's stated reasons for quitting the council does hold some water. She claims that some members of the council are actually long-standing human rights abusers, and she's right. Several current members of the council have horrible human rights records, including Saudi Arabia, China, and, until last week, the United States. Haley also accused the council of bias against Israel, and okay, that's the actual reason, right? I mean, does anyone seriously believe that Donald Trump and his appointed UN ambassador are that upset about other human rights abusers on the council? Despite Trump's repeated fear-mongering over the threat posed to American national security by China, he's never publicly criticized its human rights abuses. And when he met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un week before last, he talked up the potential value of North Korean real estate, but said not a peep about that country's notoriously brutal human rights record. And when asked about Kim's human rights abuses after the meeting, Trump waved it off, saying that Kim was a tough guy and insisting that a lot of other people have done some really bad things. So yeah, clearly his administration's commitment to human rights speaks for itself. Personally, while it is an embarrassment to my country, I think the Human Rights Council is better off without us. And now it's time for the segment devoted to some of the other things Donald Trump has done recently to disgrace the presidency and embarrass and/or endanger the United States and the rest of the world. It's number 5, the further misadventures of Lord Dampnut. Please keep in mind, as always, the following is not a complete list. He endorsed the campaign of Corey Stewart, who is running for the U.S. Senate in Virginia. Stewart is an open supporter of Confederate monuments, has made multiple public appearances alongside Jason Kessler, one of the organizers of the white supremacist Unite the Right rally, and he's a birther. No wonder Trump likes him. During his meeting with Kim Jong-un in Singapore, Trump played a bizarre propaganda video that was part shameless sucking up to Kim and part thinly veiled threat of nuclear attack, so pretty much the most Trump thing ever. He also admitted that he dictated his son Don Jr.'s false statement about meeting with Russian operatives during the presidential campaign, but insisted it didn't matter because the statement was only made to the phony, failing New York Times anyway. He announced that he was directing the Pentagon to establish a space force that will be a new branch of the American Armed Forces, an action which is forbidden by the Outer Space Treaty, which the U.S. signed along with 106 other countries in 1967, not that Trump gives a shit. He reversed an Obama-era executive order designed to prevent oil spills in the Great Lakes and oceans bordering the United States. And he continued to blame the immigration crisis, including the family separations caused by his own zero-tolerance policy, on Democrats, hosting an event at the White House where he spouted false or unverified statistics about violent crime committed by undocumented immigrants, and was joined on stage by family members of people killed by undocumented immigrants. Some of these family members held up large photographs of their dead loved ones. Photographs which Trump had autographed. See? Just think about that for a second, because you know those family members didn't show up at the White House with those gigantic images of their dead loved ones. That was someone at the White House's idea, possibly even Trump's own idea. He said, hey, we're going to have these family members whose loved ones were killed by undocumented immigrants over to the White House to make a racist political statement. Let's get some pictures of their dead loved ones and have them send those in first so we can blow them up real big, and then I'll autograph them. Won't that be great? That'll be great. Let's definitely do that. That's 5. Speak out, act out, resist, look after each other. Hey folks, thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of this one. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, and also please consider helping me to make more videos like this one and like all the videos I make on this channel by supporting this channel through Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Steve Shives to become a patron for as little as $1 a month. And those $1 a month pledges really, really help me out. But if you think I'm worth it and you can afford it, and you pledge $5 a month or more, you can take advantage of some extra benefits in the Patreon campaign, including a shout out for yourself at the end of the Facepalm 5, just like my newest $5 per month patron, Norman Buckwald. Thank you so much, Norman, for helping me out with that $5 a month. Thanks to all of you who are patrons at whatever level you are pledging for helping me out and making it possible to do what I do. Thanks to all of you for watching, and I'll see you next time.